Hey, what's up guys? Thank you so much for clicking on the video. This is my first YouTube video and channel, and the reason to create the channel is to share a little bit about how I personally save and invest my money as a 21-year-old Singaporean who's still doing my national service. Now the reason for that is because I realized that there's an underlying problem with a lot of young people and millennials alike. And that problem would be spending more money than they should, and also not knowing where their money should or should not be going. So before I continue, I just want to mention that I was once a pretty extravagant spender myself. So I would go to ASOS and spend a few $100s every month, guaranteed, and I would eat at restaurants every other day, which was all unnecessary expenses, but I personally didn't know that at that time because I didn't have anyone to guide me on how I should use my money or where my money should be going. Thus, creating this channel in hopes of preventing any of you guys from making the same mistakes that I did before it's too late. You ready? Let's get started. Tip number 1. Set yourself a budget. I can't stress how important this is and how overlooked it is, but it has been one of, if not the most important tool I've used to optimize my finances. So the whole point of a budget is just to see what you're overspending on. So a budget sets a limit for you to see how much you should spend so that you hit your goal. A very common issue that I've come across, and I've seen many others do it as well, is how much they underestimate how much they overspend. Usually it's a small amount. For example, let's use going to McDonald's. So your friend invites you to have dinner at McDonald's one night when you should be eating at home. You don't want to disappoint your friend, so you just went ahead. Thinking that the cost of a meal is just about $5, that small of an amount would easily be neglected. But then you do it again the next day, so it's a small amount, right? Which means that you can afford it again the next day if you wanted to. Then sure, you tell your friend, why not we come again tomorrow or 2 days later. Then you spend another $5 without thinking that you have already spent $10. So you do it again and again, not realizing that those small amounts have been slowly increasing into larger sums of cash. You'll see some crazy figure in the end of the month in your bank balance, and then you'll be like, wow, who stole my money? But in reality, you'll be stealing your own money. Another example I have is bubble tea. Ooh, Singaporeans love bubble tea, I have to tell you. Every single time I'm in the mall, the longest queue in the shopping center would be queuing for bubble tea. A single cup ranges from around $4 to $6. Many Singaporeans like to drink bubble tea every day, but they perceive themselves only spending $5 on a cup of bubble tea each day. That's a very dangerous mindset to have because they are not accounting for the other 100 cups of bubble tea that they have bought previously, but only accounting the $5 that they are currently spending on the cup that they are drinking now. If you think $5 a day isn't a lot of money, think again. So, if you add $5 every day up for about a month, it would be $150, right? And if you put that $150 every month into an investment account that yields about 8% per annum interest for your investments, if you add that up every month for about 5 years, by the time 5 years is up, your total amount would equate to about $11,000. So how that works out is, in the first year, you would save about $1,800. So the interest earned for that will be $80 if it's 8%. So the next year, it would compound again every month, so your interest would keep on growing and growing, and by the time you hit 5 years, your 5th year interest would be about $780 just from year 5 alone. And that's just by saving $5 a day. Imagine what you can do with the rest of the money that you spend on unnecessary expenses. So the app that I use to budget my expenses is Money Lovers. It's an app that's very simple and easy to use. I'm not sponsored or anything by them. I just find it very simple and easy to use. That's hassle-free to budget my expenses. Tip number 2 is paying yourself first. What that basically means is just whenever you get your salary for the month, instead of paying for entertainment or dining expenses, you pay yourself as if you were one of your expenses. So you place your money into your own pockets first before paying for other discretionary expenses. So a means to pay yourself would be, example, in an investment account or your high interest savings account. So personally, I would put most of my money that I receive from the army into my investment accounts whenever they credit my allowance. So I'll put 80% of my money into the account and spend the rest of it afterwards. By locking your money in an investment account, this places a good habit to prioritize where your hard-earned money should be going, instead of using their paycheck for expenses and whatever, and save the excess that they have left. Don't be surprised on how much money you saved just in the first month of budgeting and paying yourself first, because it adds up really fast. I usually limit my expenses to about $30 a day on Saturday and Sunday, which adds up to be around $240. And I would give a $60 margin of safety, so it will add up to $300. So to keep my expenses low, I will cook my own food, usually once or twice a day in the weekend. I love pasta, so I will budget $2 to $3 a meal after everything's said and done for buying all the ingredients that I want. The spaghetti would be about $1. The meat would be about $1.50. For me, I'm vegetarian, so I will get mock meat at about $1.50 per serving. Meat is around the same price as the price I pay for my mock meat. Cooking to me also provides a therapeutic experience and a stress reliever as well when I'm on my break. I don't find cooking necessarily a waste of time or a chore, because I can watch TV while I'm cooking or keep myself pretty occupied, and it's honestly pretty relaxing. It's also a fun activity to share with your girlfriend, significant other, or your family while you're on your break. So tip number 4 is a habit that I only recently adopted. I felt that this habit has not only saved me a ton of money and time, but also relieved so much stress as well. It is to stop spending money on excessive clothes. This is one of the biggest bad habits that a lot of my friends have, which has hindered them from reaching better financial positions. What I do is spend money on clothes that are minimal in design and won't go out of fashion easily. Millennials nowadays like to ball on clothing that are ridiculously marked up and super overpriced just to keep up with the trends. After they buy that $400 to $500 t-shirt, they will find themselves throwing that same exact t-shirt away into their closet right after the trend has died in maybe about half a year. I can't stress how much of a waste of money that is to be splurging on those kind of unnecessary expenses, especially when they are spending a significant amount of their net worth on those clothes. That is the exact definition of what I mean by having a beer budget with a champagne taste. It's honestly pretty scary to see some of my friends that prioritize these type of items over their necessary expenses. So buy clothes that are timeless and classic in design, that won't go out of fashion that easily. That would save you a lot of money, because you don't have to go out so often to spend on clothes, and then wasting 80% of your closet space on clothes that you don't wear. So these 4 tips and habits are what I use to save money. Now let's talk about investing. So the last tip is about how I earn money with the money that I saved up. I always believed in the concept of compound interest. Albert Einstein said compound interest is the 8th wonder of the world. Because with compound interest, it's like money just magically appears out of nowhere and gets more and more and more as time passes. So with that, when you invest when you're young, you have a longer time span to let your money grow. Investing is not rocket science. Everyone can learn it. You just need to dedicate a little time to know how the market works and how you can use it to your advantage. What I do is I invest in the stock market. There's countless videos on YouTube and endless supplies of information on Google for you to learn how to invest in the stock market. At least that was where I learned how to invest. My investing strategy is finding undervalued stocks with healthy balance sheets and who pays a dividend, and I invest in them. So for me, I use Etoro and Saxotrader GO to invest in the stock market. If you're unsure on how to invest in individual stocks and find undervalued companies, you can find automated brokerages that invest your money for you by paying them a small fee, such as Scythe. So let's go into the pros and cons of using a robot brokerage like Scythe. So the pros would be that you don't have to worry a single thing about your investments. You don't have to research or analyze specific stocks to yield your returns on your investments. Next is you save a lot of time by saving on the need to research on and analyze on the specific stocks. However, the cons of using auto brokerage like Syfe is that being actively managed, you would have to pay a fee for managers to manage the funds for you. The fees would usually be pretty expensive as compared to if you were to pick the stocks yourself. The fees would equate to somewhere around 0.5% to 1%, which sounds like it's very little, but actually it equates to a lot once you compound it. And for example, the market is just yields just 9% a year. By taking 1% out of that, you're basically taking out more than 10% of your yield. Next, managers in these sort of auto brokerages isn't transparent, in the sense that maybe you can find the name of your manager of your fund on Google, but however, you just couldn't get a lot of news out of it and judge the competency of the manager. So it is risky to put your money and your with someone that you have no idea whatsoever who it is and what he does and how long his experience is. The next con is that you don't have a choice in where you want your money to go and where you want your money to be invested in. For say a manager likes a pharmaceutical stock, or he likes the pharmaceutical ETF, you don't want to, you want let's say a tech stock like Apple, you can't do that. You just have to suck it up because that's what you signed up for. So next, statistical research has shown that market managers can't beat the market. Yes, that happens actually most of the time. So statistical research has shown that most of the time market managers couldn't beat the market, which is the S&P 500. There are reasons for that. You can Google that, but I'm not going to get into it. So the S&P 500 is just the index which holds the top 500 performing companies in the US. And they have yielded about 8 to 9% a year since the 1950s. So if the market managers couldn't beat that, it's better to buy an index fund. Which brings me to my next point. If you don't want someone that you don't know who he is to manage your funds for you, that has a risk of performing lower than the market, I'd rather you put your money in an index fund. So the market is S&P 500, right? You can buy exchange traded funds, which is ETFs, which is a type of fund that tracks the market. So if the S&P performs, let's say 10% this year, that's exactly what you will get out of that if you put your money in that fund. So you can go ahead and check out VOO, VTSAX or VTI, which are all index funds from the Vanguard group. What's good about index funds is that it's not actively managed, as it's tracked, right? Means you don't have to pay commissions or pay people that actively manage the funds for you. So an index fund roughly range around 0.2% to 0.5% at most. That's the most I would pay, as compared to an actively managed fund, which can cost even up to 5% after adding the expense ratio and the commissions. You can check out expense ratio in Google. It's one of the costs for using funds and ETFs and index funds as well. But index funds has the lowest cost of them all. So I just want to end off saying that this frugal living and investing your money, saving your money kind of lifestyle is really doable. If I, from living my extravagant lifestyle back in just 2 years ago, 3 years ago, can do it, you definitely can too. What I would recommend is reading some books. Start off from maybe Rich Dad Poor Dad. That is the #1 book I would recommend for beginners. Or you can check out another book called The Everything Guide to Investing in Your 20s and 30s by Joe Duart, if I'm not wrong. It's a green color squarish book. You can check it out. They have the definition. It's a very easy to read book, and they have definitions of all the terms of investment terminologies. From there, you can move on to books like The Intelligent Investor by Ben Graham, which is who is Warren Buffett's mentor actually, way back. And after that, maybe you can Google the rest of the investing books out there. And after you finish these 3 books. So there you have it. These are the top 5 tips I have for saving and investing. I hope these tips really helped you, and I hope I'll be making more videos like this if you guys like it. And thank you so much. Peace.